Welcome to Glorious Truths Untold. Today we will be looking at the topic, Within the Second Veil, Season 2, Part 1. Special welcome to our new and existing viewers and subscribers joining us from all over the world. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to get updates whenever we post new content. Let's get started. In our previous video, Within the Second Veil Part 6, we explored some powerful ideas on the nature of salvation and judgment. We discussed how, after 1844, salvation was no longer available to those who rejected the messages of the first and second angels, marking a significant moment in history as God's final warning to that generation. We examined the distinction in judgment between Old and New Covenant believers. Under the Old Covenant, salvation was tied to obedience to the literal laws given through Moses. In contrast, under the New Covenant, judgment for believers rests on faith in Jesus, adherence to God's law, and a love-driven motivation rather than fear. Lastly, we identified two distinct groups promised salvation: the great multitude, saved through faith and entering heaven via the grave, and the 144,000, perfected and translated without seeing death, forming the bride of Christ. Before diving deeper into these themes, let's revisit the key questions we raised at the end of that video. Why did the Mosaic covenant ultimately fail? What makes the New Covenant, which replaced it, superior? What was the agreement between the Father and the Son under this new covenant? Why is embracing the Trinity doctrine seen as a barrier to gaining full victory over sin? If Jesus is viewed only as God the Son rather than the begotten Son of God, what does that imply for the atonement? In this video, we'll start unpacking these questions to uncover deeper layers of meaning in God's covenant and the path to salvation. Let's dive in. And Moses called all Israel and said unto them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and judgments which I speak in your ears this day, that you may learn them and keep and do them. The Lord our God made a covenant with us in Horeb. The Lord made not this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us, who are all of us here alive this day. Deuteronomy 5 verses 1 through 3. In the Old Covenant, otherwise known as the Mosaic Covenant, established at Mount Sinai, God made a promise with Israel, delivered to Moses in the form of statutes and commandments engraved on stone. God pledged to bless the Israelites if they obeyed his laws, but warned that disobedience would lead to their enemies overtaking them. The Israelites vowed to follow God's commands, yet learned that forgiveness for sin required a substitute: an innocent, unblemished animal whose blood had to be shed to atone for their transgressions. This sacrificial system reminded them that sin could not be casually overlooked. It needed to be transferred to another, even staining the sanctuary of God. The painful act of taking a cherished, innocent animal and sacrificing it underscored the seriousness of sin and its severe penalty. However, the Old Covenant ultimately revealed its limitations. While God kept his promise, Israel could not perfectly uphold their end, exposing their need for help beyond themselves. Each Israelite came to understand two critical truths. 1, they lacked the power to keep God's law independently, and 2, they couldn't earn their own salvation. These lessons emphasize that true atonement required divine intervention and a new covenant that could succeed where the old one fell short, built not on human promises but on God's enduring faithfulness and grace. Did you know? The Hebrew term for atonement, kafar, means to cover. Under the Old Covenant, sacrifices temporarily covered sins. But in the New Covenant, Christ's sacrifice fully cleanses, granting permanent forgiveness and a deeper reconciliation with God. This shift shows how God's plan evolved from temporary to permanent through Christ. Let's go to the review section. Did you hear the answer to this question? Why did the Old Covenant, otherwise called the Mosaic Covenant, ultimately fail? In case you missed it, here is the answer. The Mosaic Covenant ultimately failed because the Israelites were unable to keep the laws and commandments due to their disobedience and lack of inner transformation. While God upheld his promises, the people consistently broke their part of the agreement. This highlighted the need for a new covenant, which offers grace and empowerment through faith in Christ, enabling true obedience and a deeper relationship with God. Now that we all know why the old covenant failed, what makes the new covenant, which replaced it, superior? We will answer this question in the next video of our series, Season 2, Part 2. Don't forget to subscribe, like, or comment on our videos. We will respond as soon as we can. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
I have fixed my mind on another time, on another time.